Hello, Inspi family, and thank you so much for joining us on yet again another episode of the Inspiwords podcast. And I brought you back Zama Sikhakhane. You guys know her. She was here for the Father's Love series, and she touched on some very interesting topics around issues of relationships. And I brought her back to talk exactly about that. Welcome to the Inspiwords podcast, Zama.
Thank you, Mtobisi. Thank you for having me. Hi, Inspi family.
Tell me about your experience of coming here the first time.
One, the setup is amazing, guys. I feel like Ngigu Miss South Africa.
Wow.
No, because I did a whole photo shoot, guys, and but the content, I went back and I reflected a lot before I could even go and comment on the things we were talking about. So it was an eye-opener. I had to open up about things.
And I think today we're going to do the same. So brace yourself.
Yeah, this is Mtobi Sindaba. What am I expecting?
Anyway, let's talk a bit about some of the reflections that came out of our episode with you on the Father's Love. What are some of the things that after the episode happened? And I'm sure it sparked some conversations even within your circles.
Yeah, it did. We were speaking with my girls, and guys, I always feel like I dish out people's things when I'm here. So I'm going to try, but there were a lot of sisters who came and were like, yes, we've been hurt in the church. Funny enough, there's been brothers as well who were like, yeah, also the daughters of Zion don't know what they want. They are really confused. They want us to be romantic, but not really tell them we love them. They are safe. So it was, mixed messages, but at the end of the day, I felt like we opened a can of worms. And we opened a conversation that people felt like needed to be spoken about, but they didn't have the language, or they felt like we can't really talk about that in church. How is the Mama Mfundisi talking about a relationship Jolo now on a YouTube channel? But and also, I think other people felt like they could relate. They're like, you one person where we feel like we can be real. And I think that's always been my modus operandi.
Oh, wow.
So,
guys.
let's talk about these things. But yeah.
But I'm always failing to understand, why is it a struggle for us, especially in the church, to talk about these things? Because I find that these things are happening. Like, people are dating in the church. People are breaking each other's hearts in the church. And I think, if really there's something we need to be talking about, that's one of them. Like, why is it a struggle?
I think TD Jakes once said there are two things that the church doesn't want to talk about. One is sex and one is money. And they need all of these more than they would like to to admit that we need these things. And it is also that idea that the ladies, we want to keep the numbers down. The brothers, it almost seems like you are not saved enough because you've broken up with a lot of sisters. So, and our fathers of faith and our mothers of faith have made it a doctrine to say in these churches we don't date. So we still are holding on to doctrines that were not necessarily biblical, but they were doctrines that were keeping order in the church. Like, you need to go to, a mission and find your partner. But there is place for that. Don't get me wrong. There is always place for that. But at the same time, how many churches have missions now? Things are changing. So we need to hold on to things that are biblical and not necessarily things that, that way. I can't even say churchical. But, we need to change how we do church and how open we are about the things that affect people at the church. It's like mental health. We've just recently opened up about it at church.
Yeah. And I've been doing a lot of talks around mental health.
Yes, really, and are you crying?
Yes, we do. So it's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. You're talking about how times are changing. And of course, with the changing of times, even the way that things are done change. You would remember in the past when we got saved, we were in churches where, guys would sit one side, girls would sit one side, mothers one side, father's one side. And I guess that had its own place at the time, but with the changing of times, we're getting to understand things differently. But I want to ask you, what specific changes do you see when it comes to the issues around relationships, dating, and all of that? I'm sure you are in the church circles, you are a mother pastor, so I'm sure you've also had to grapple with these kinds of things in thinking about how you handle them even within your church.
One, I've found that we have to deal with a lot of paradigm shifting. A lot of sisters will be like, I don't want to date a brother, or I don't want to date a man of God. And I've felt like I need to be a spokesperson and advocate for our men of God.
What do they want if they don't want men of God?
It almost feels like, brother buses when you don't have game and they don't have, not brother buses when the men of God are not romantic and they are not men, because the name romantic means you are taking on what the needs of the other person above your own. That's what romantic is. Yes, the definition of a not... Okay, go to the dictionary. Some dictionaries don't have a definition. They'll say, see, romantic.
Yeah.
Or romance. But basically what romance is I understand him to, I wanna put him to's needs. I'm gonna preempt what he would like, and that is what I'm gonna do, and that's how relationships start.
But do you think Daughters of Zion have that kind of definition for what they mean by romance?
They've been hurt. They've dated the men of God, and because some men of God do not differentiate between, there's that picture that goes around, and I think Pastor Mancha once posted it, where it is Christ, the husband, and
with the umbrellas. Yeah.
And some pictures like that have been misinterpreted, and some men of God have forced submission without defining it, and they've put this that they couldn't differentiate between Christ and the church, and they've put the church before their relationship, because there's a difference between your relationship with Christ and you serving the church. And for marriage to work, or any romantic relationship to work, it needs to be first.
Okay, so you're bringing in this issue of submission, and I want to ask you about this. In the context of our dating relationship, is there even room for this thing of submission? Because from this context of scripture, I understand it and says wives submit to your husbands.
Yes.
So where is its place in the context of our relationship?
It says that, it says submit to one another.
Yeah, submit to one another.
Most males, when they quote scripture, they want to ignore that whole part. The first part, it says submit to one another.
Yeah.
So I think, man, I always caution ladies from being, the scripture that says I'm a weaker vessel, which I love to use, only applies to wives that treat her as a weaker vessel.
Yeah.
And even submission, there's respect for one another, and then and respect for one another also relates to submitting to one another. And in a relationship, if we are not married, we should just be respecting each other.
Yeah.
And respect also involves submission, but obviously now submission has been made this extreme thing where you can't even raise your voice. That's not submission. So I think before we can ask that question, we have to ask, what is submission?
Okay, what is submission?
My understanding of submission is I have my will, you have your will. And at the end of the day, I look what is going to help this relationship. And that is submitting or allowing your will. It could be we are discussing curtains, for heaven's sake.
But there's also the third will, God's will.
There's also the God's will. So, amen. But when we're talking in a context of relationship, we are deciding on a subject or a matter. And then I have my own ideas because you met me, or my husband met me when I was 25 already. I have my way of thinking, my way of acting. I have my own decision tree that I use when I'm making a decision. And then you come in. And me submitting means, okay, let's have it your way. But that doesn't mean I do not have, ideas. I can still put my weight, what I think about this matter, and then say, okay, but the main decision is, okay, let's go with what you are deciding. That is submission in my idea. It's relating to ideologies, thinking, okay, I may not, Kosiami, love the idea of me.
I like where this is going.
I may not like the idea of me wearing a duck, for instance, but if that is what makes you happy or what makes my husband happy, then I'm going to do it. It also relates back to romantic relationship. I do what I believe pleases my husband, and that's why he's still with me, because I'm trying to do what pleases him. That does not mean it must be abused, that all the time I must do what pleases him, because there must be times where he submits to what I like. For instance, my husband bought flowers the other day. It's not his best, it's not what he wants to do, but he sees that my wife loves it. And for the sake of that, he's submitting his will of, I don't celebrate certain
Doesn't
days.
want to be seen around carrying a bouquet of flowers.
He does. Inkabi can carry a bouquet of flowers, guys. It's not a sign of weakness, okay? But I don't think it's about, he just doesn't understand the idea of buying flowers and then they die. They die. He doesn't
they do.
They do. But in those couple of weeks when they are there, they are brightening my mood. Literally,
Brightening your mood.
Yes. There is a cup, an imaginary cup that we have, and it's filled by act of service. And those acts of service also involve buying me flowers or buying me chocolate.
I see. Interesting. So earlier you spoke about how DOZs have been hacked.
Yes.
And even young lions, you said some of them came to you and spoke to you about some of the heads and daughters of Zion not knowing what they want. I want to ask you, I think some of those things have something to do with people's level of preparation for relationships. At least from where I'm standing, I don't think that relationships are for everyone. As much as there is an argument to be made about dating not being a sin, right? But I don't think that everyone should be dating.
I fully agree.
I don't think that everyone can handle what dating comes with. And I think there is a certain level of maturity that you need to reach to be able to handle that kind of relationship and still have it remain pure, right? Because there's that element of it, and we'll talk about that if time allows. But I wanna just dive deep into this element of preparation. What do you think is what things does one need to do, whether you are a young lion or you're a daughter of Zion, in order to prepare yourself for getting into a relationship? And that, it's a sort of a double question. How do you know when you're ready?
You are never fully ready. I'm joking. But man, I fully agree that relationships are not for everyone. There's a certain level of healing that needs to happen. And I know, man, we are raising sons and daughters that hopefully will not have to heal from the parenting that we've given.
Yeah.
But the truth is, there is some hurts that other people need to first heal from. Whether I was raised by an absent father, a mother, and then there's also that learning of what is a relationship. What are you looking for in a relationship? That idea. How does a relationship look? Some people just want someone who feed them. That is not a definition of what a relationship is. Some daughters of Zion just want someone who's just going to buy them things, and they think that is the idea of a relationship. But also society is to blame. And then some men want someone who's just going to cook, clean, and wash for them, and they think that what a relationship is. So, one, understand what is a relationship. It's not always going to be about you in a relationship.
So how would you define a relationship?
It's two people who are working together on one goal of being best friends and lovers. That's what I would...
That's powerful.
That's what I would define a relationship is. And
yeah.
we all start it because we have, or from a Christian perspective, you are starting it because you see yourself getting married to that person. So if you still like, no, I just want to date because I want to taste waters from a Christian point of view, then I would say maybe you are not ready to start dating or to date, because if a relationship has no purpose, then if we don't know the purpose of why we are even starting a relationship, then relationship might be abused, because like Miles would say, if a purpose of a thing is not known, we are going to abuse that thing. So we start off with, we are relating so that we can have a romantic relationship, because sometimes we are having friendship. And some brothers, they've been hurt because they want to have a relationship with sister, but they started off as a friendship, and then the sister is like, no, Mina, I
you
thought
as a friend.
I only see you as a friend, and you are not coming out of this friendship, because then now you are robbing me. But when the brothers also come to sisters and they go like, I want to have a romantic relationship, and the sisters go like, but you don't know me.
We're not even friends.
See, we're not even friends. So the daughters of Zion are confused in that sense.
They don't know what they want.
I told you this thing. Some of them don't know what they want, because sometimes I'll be like, so how do you want this person to know you? Because you don't want them to be your friends, because you're like, no, when they want romance, they must just come and be, I want romance.
You're going too fast.
Yes, but at the same time, then we shut that person down because he doesn't know me enough to even want a romantic relationship. So that is why I say, know what is a relationship.
But also you're talking about the whole thing of dating, and what pops up in my mind is, to some degree, I feel like there is a difference between dating and being in a relationship. And I think that's how originally the terms were. Because, and I think in this day and age, if you ask somebody to go out with you for coffee, already it's like we are buying, I'm deciding on the color of the day, I'm deciding on the, venue, like baby names. And I think that's also one of the problems that happens, that you don't even get to a point where you know somebody enough to really want to be in a relationship with them, because we just assume that if I say let's have coffee, then I already am asking you to get into a relationship with me.
I think it goes back to what you asked about the preparation, because if you are asking me for coffee, or you're asking a girl out for coffee, and yes, bells, I'm a woman of, I'm a daughter of Zion first before anything. There are going to be bells of what are the outcome of this. But I would always advise daughters of Zion that go there with your own like questions that you wanna ask from the brother, so that you can decide, because you need to have your questions so that you can know what is the outcome. For instance, I'm gonna go in there in the date. Okay, what is the purpose of this? I'm probably gonna ask you in the date.
Sometimes I just want to get to know you. I don't like. I'm just like,
you are interested in my personality.
I'm interested. Yeah, you're a good person. You're beautiful. You sound interesting. I wanna just have a conversation before I even take it as far as what are we.
Okay, if that is, it should be made clear that we are just getting to know each other at this point.
So it's not a date.
Guys, a date is, we have set an appointment. It's a date. Maybe let's not put it.
Those are some of the things we have to clarify.
Yes, it's a date. It's just that we associate date with romantic things. But we have set a date. We are meeting on the 17th or the 12th. That is a date. I've set it in the calendar.
I've done work dates.
I've done work dates. It's still a date. It's still romantic or not. We've done school dates. We have gone play dates. Like I take my child to go and play with other kids because I want them to have relationship with other kids. So if it's gonna result in relationship, then you are going there with your questions, because you must know what are the no-goes and your 80% of what you want to know about someone. And the knowing should be both ends. It shouldn't be you are coming just to ask me. I should have my own questions as well, because that's how most daughters of Zion get hurt, because it's nice to just see him play the keyboard and preaching. And when we get to date, we only eat and I don't ask the questions.
You're enjoying the food.
Yeah, but you must, and you know why we should involve the food, right?
Yeah.
Some discussions are easier when you are drinking something. I'm not saying drinking something exotic or whatnot. Just saying, when you're drinking something, you can ask, so my brother, what is your view about money? Are you in debt?
But like,
Yes. Those things should be known because money is security to females. And maybe I stand here as a female who says it's security and it's one of my non-negotiables.
What if God is my security?
I can marry God. Aibo, then marry God. Aibo. Maybe that came out wrong from the pastor's wife. But I mean, but no, we need to talk about these things because, man, money affects everything.
Yeah, ne?
So it is important.
And I think it's one of the things that we really need to talk about, even when it comes to preparation.
Yes.
I've found that dating is expensive.
It is expensive.
Like you need money.
You do. And also, some ladies will take it as if I'm going on a date with you and I say, I want to go to the most expensive restaurant. It's also a sign of my value that know that when you are dating me, this is my standard. I don't do McDonald's or I don't do...
I have something to say about that.
Yes.
Because it could happen that, you find someone.
Usa builder.
You find someone, they like ice cream, ne?
Yes.
I'm just like, it's a hypothetical.
I get it.
Completely hypothetical situation.
Yes.
Like guys, it's a hypothetical situation. Yeah.
When you want your marriage to survive.
Yeah.
Like point.
Disclaimer, hypothetical situation.
Yes.
You meet someone, they like ice cream. They be buying McFlurry for themselves, right?
Yes.
They're buying McFlurry and it's all nice and it's all good.
Yes.
And then now, when you are in a relationship,
yes,
they want poles.
Yes.
They want, what is it, Forest, what?
Häagen-Dazs.
Yes, those kinds of things.
They want Häagen-Dazs.
So what is the deal with DOZs and that kind of...
No, we do buy McFlurry. I can go to McDonald's by myself. But also, I found that with also, I'm a man of God, you need to acclimatize them to the standard. I can buy it for myself and adjust, but the truth of the matter is...
That's the standard.
That's the standard. To Häagen-Dazs, that's my standard. That's where... And if I don't do that, you might settle. You might be like, but you said it was okay. Like, I've dealt with a lot of men of God. They're like, no, but our date to McDonald's. I'm like, I can do McDonald's because maybe it's the closest thing to our house and we are pressed for time. But on another day, no. Because we also females associate how much you spend on us with how much also you love us. And that's the other thing. Like, I think I was reading somewhere and someone said, to see what is important to anyone else, check what they spend their money on.
Sure, that's powerful.
So when you date a man of God, he can tithe with like a 10,000, but will struggle to buy you a shoe that is 10,000.
Yeah, but tithe and shoes, like tithe.
No. It also says that I'm first in your life. I don't want to replace God, but I want to know that I'm first in your life.
So I would rather not tithe and buy your 10,000.
No, I'm not saying when you are tithing.
I don't know if Fundis will agree with this thing.
That's why I'm saying it is something that we'll have to discuss with, because it's like, for instance, you can buy a keyboard. Okay, maybe let me not use tithing. You can buy a keyboard, or let's make it with you personal. You can buy a camera for 60,000. And when I say I want to go on a trip, that is gonna cost us 60,000 or 80,000, then you're like, but, and then it shows me where because we place our value.
But you see, well, I don't wanna drag this too long.
Okay.
But I wanna just make this point. that
Yes.
The camera can make 60,000.
Yes.
But your trip will not make 60,000.
And it can. A happy wife can actually give you more joy.
Hey, happy wife.
A happy wife.
life.
A happy wife can actually, oh my goodness, make you make above 60,000, I tell you. I'm not saying let's eat or chow 60,000 and you can't afford it. But when you are making your decisions, what to buy, how much to buy. One person said, if you as a husband can only buy one outfit and in a family, buy one for your wife and not buy for yourself.
Okay.
Yes. As Christ loved the church.
I see. Let's go back to the preparation part. I feel like now we are going in other directions.
Yes.
Let's go back to the preparation part. What do you think one needs to do as a young lion, as a daughter of Zion? I've not been in a relationship. You've spoken about the importance of healing from maybe childhood traumas and childhood experiences that could hinder how good you do relationships. But what else do you think one needs to prepare in order to be ready to be in a relationship?
I'm going to be biased because I love books. I'm going to say, one, you need to read. If you can't read, there are podcasts, especially now I'm referring to also people who are Christian. Because what society has deemed is what a relationship is and what needs to happen there is totally different from what the scripture expects. So my first thing would be read about relationships. Books such as I Kiss Dating Goodbye are good books. The Wait. Those books actually speak about what is a relationship, how to prepare yourself. I think before I do buy TD Jakes, they will make you ask questions like, do you want to have kids? Because relationship is not about selfishness. And you'll have to know and cultivate those traits and ask yourself, am I ready? You know, we have a generation that says, I just don't want to speak to anyone, and people should just understand. That's not what relationship about. Yes, there are certain things that we'll have to understand, but if you want to relate with me, there are certain crowns that you'll have to put aside. So read about what relationship is. Listen to podcasts. People who are defining what relationship is. And then ask yourself, what kind of a person do you want?
Yeah.
And when you're asking yourself and you are defining that person, ask yourself this question, am I worthy of being in the relationship with that same person? Because sometimes we want, like I was talking to other men of Zion, they have all these things. I want someone like this. And I was like, would you allow someone to date or your sister to date you?
Yo? But me, I would have.
You see,
But I would.
You see, those are some of the things because you have not worked on your... Maybe I believe cheating is okay in a relationship. I believe that, yes, I can date. Once we've said we are romantically dating, I believe in exclusive. So if you don't have the correct theory that, okay, when you are romantic dating, you only date you don't mix. So that is why I'm saying you need to learn about what a relationship is, and then you need to learn yourself what are your non-negotiables in a relationship. For me, I would like to date a man. The man must be saved. The man must have a job.
So if I don't have, what if I'm a student? Can I not date as a student and I don't have a job?
You are a student.
I have an NSFAS.
You can date as a student. I dated as a student, but it has its own drawbacks. But also some romantic relationships that people have had as students have resulted in marriages and. So
I know people that dated as students and
that are married.
They got into
and
marriage and they're doing well.
You have to also ask yourself, do I want to date for 6 years or 8 years before I get married? Like I'm talking as a Christian believer now. How many years am I willing to wait before that is feasible?
Yeah.
And that speaks to the person must have a job. Or unless he's from Bill
So
Gates'
you
family.
must have a job.
Yes, I will be. Okay, I will
You
have
must
a
also
job.
have a job.
Yes, I will have a job.
I'm gonna defend young lions here. You must also have a
Yes,
job.
I must have a job or I must have a plan. I want someone with a plan. You can't be planning on being a DJ. Even though it pays
Like-
nowadays.
Like black coffee just filled up Madison Square. Is it Madison Square?
And
Ne?
how many people can be a black coffee? We cannot make an exception a rule. Guys, we cannot make an exception a rule. Like, we can't all be the Zozibinis now, can we?
Yo.
So at least have a plan, work on something, be determined to work on something, and I see it working. Like, you can't bring another daughter of Zion to your poverty. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. So you've spoken about the finance part. We've spoken about healing from things that you need to heal from before you introduce someone to your brokenness, if we can call it that.
Yes.
Or your challenges that you haven't, things that you haven't dealt with. We've spoken about considering how long would you need to wait to get married. And then we've also spoken about the issue of financial fitness, we could call it that. That you also think you also have to think about the financial implications of being in a relationship and if it's something that you are able to manage. The other thing I wanted to ask in relation to this element of preparation is this issue of singleness. I think there's a lot that can be said about singleness and how people think about singleness. What's your take about how we engage with singleness?
One, singleness is not a sin, guys. It's not something that you should be ashamed that you are in a state of singleness. I think it's a state for you to learn yourself, learn what you want, and also just, do you even want a relationship? And why do you want a relationship? Those are some of the questions that someone who's single should be asking themselves. Because, man, you need to be a complete person to be in a relationship. You can't want a relationship because you just want to have a boyfriend or you just want to have a girlfriend. You must want to contribute to something. And by contribute, man, you want to date someone so that person, because of your availability in their life, becomes the best version that God had created them to be. You want to come to someone's life and cultivate everything. Like, I look at, what are his desires? Where can I support in this? Where can I support this person in achieving that? So singleness is a time to learn you. It's a time to learn God. It's a time to learn your negotiables and the non-negotiables, because what relationships do is they test all of the things that you had thought you had, what are my boundaries? In a relationship, you'll be tested. What do I think about finances? It's in singleness, that's when you solidify all of those things. And you can choose whether you want a relationship or you don't, because it's okay also if you don't.
in a relationship.
Yeah, if you see, like, Jesus was never married and was never in like a romantic relationship. We understand he was Christ, but he still could fulfill, the mandate that he was called into. So it's not a sin. It's not looked down upon. It's just that our society has made it seem like if you're not married, you cannot achieve, everything that God has called you to do. There are people who are single and they have lived fulfilling lives. And that is also, I think, a doctrine or something that we need to preach, that it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. Because God didn't say, I've made a husband and wife in the image of Christ. It wasn't like that. Even as a single woman, I am made in the image of Christ, and I can be called into ministry. Men can be called into ministry and actually do every area that God has called them to. But there is marriage, that is nice, because now someone is helping you to carry your burdens. So, yeah.
So I'm also thinking, we spoke about the issue of readiness. We spoke about now the issue of singlehood. And I'm thinking that while you are, still building yourself, getting to know yourself. You know you're not ready for a relationship, but crushes are not waiting for you. Like, you do get crushes, you do meet people that, when you meet, you feel butterflies in your stomach or something like that. How do you deal with those kinds of things when they happen, and you really know that I'm not ready to be in a relationship, or I'm still dealing with something? How do we handle crushes? And because sometimes also, sorry, just crushes like
Real.
don't always last forever,
Yeah.
right? So how do you handle that?
Man, evaluate your crush also. Guys,
Is it a worthy?
is
is it a crush worthy person?
is it a crush worthy person? Some of the people we've had crushes on, we bless the Lord. I know. Have you ever seen your crush and you're like, what was I thinking?
Yo.
A crush can also be related to the fact that you're spending time with this person, or the physique is something that you thought you want in a person. Maybe they are dark chocolate, all the dark skin, tall and handsome, which is
We light skinned guys. And not good
Osam, nama
candidate
yellow
for crush.
bone. Nama yellow bone can be crushed, guys. Nama yellow bone can be crushed. So the other thing about the crush is that it normally touches your flesh. And normally when usugiyona is feeling a crush, there is butterflies, there is, when you've had a crush, good amen. Even when they walk in the room, the perfume that they use, the voice, the tone. Okay, I can speak for female. I don't know you guys when you're crushing, you don't know the voice or whatever, but then you have to ask.
One thing I know, akonzeki kahle maye.
Yeah, you can't. The Lord,
You don't get into the spirit.
You don't get into the spirit. But it's good to have a crush because it also exposes certain things about you.
Yeah.
That is why I said evaluate your crush. Evaluate also that season of crushing, not necessarily crushing like TDJ crushing, but of loving that other person. How are you relating to that person? For instance, I don't believe in telling the guy that I love him before he tells me that he loves me. I'm from that school. I don't believe in Shelubut, maybe let me put it that way, or putting advances. I don't believe in that. I believe that he should come to me. So a crush is a good time to evaluate your non-negotiables and what are your boundaries. And then how do I handle a crush? It is good to speak to people who are accountable or to be accountable to someone. I think I like that guy because I can tell you crushing doesn't end at the altar even when you are married. You will meet other people that are going to be maybe cuter or more handsome or more beautiful than your wife, more money, more whatever. But what counts is how do I handle that situation? So speaking to people who are accountable and saying, I think I like that guy. And then if that guy shows interest to you and you fully know that you are not ready, the honesty or the decency thing to say is, I'm not ready to be in a relationship at this point. There are things that I'm still healing on and I don't want to bleed on you. And anyone who is mature enough will understand that thing. Then saying, oh no, I'm going to crush on them, but I'm going to treat them badly. You still have to be decent, maintain good relationship, and then check your boundaries, what you do when that crush is around.
But I also feel like the times of having crushes, especially when you are sure that this is just a crush, it's also an opportunity for you to practice self-control.
Yes.
Those kinds of gospel disciplines of
Boundaries.
Self-control is
the fruit.
They are very important, and it's something that actually happens. Yeah. But there's another thing that happens. Well, I read about this in a book that Sikhakhane and Elia wrote some time ago, which was titled "Before We Get Married." They spoke about what they called the automatic booking system,
Okay.
which is something that happens in the church. I think a lot, because you find that there are people, but like daughters of Zion, babiyeli ncegu,
Oh, my
and say
God.
this one is my person, is going to be my person. Nyambiela. The man of God has not said anything. The guy has not said anything, but you have made it up in your mind. This one is going to be my person. Is my person, or there is a girl that you as a guy like in the church, right? And you've never said anything to them, but you have told yourself, Fuguti, this one is my person, and it's going to be my wife, or it's going to be my girlfriend, or whatever it is. And then it happens that some young lions that don't waste time,
And they go.
they move. They move, and the daughter of Zion is like, yeah, let's go. These guys get engaged, they get married, and you're hurt. Or the same thing happens with the lady. This person that you've been yelling and doing all of these things and praying for them and covering them
Putting
and
skaftinis.
putting skaftinis and serving them, they were not there. Then they get engaged to someone, or they are now in a relationship with someone, and then they get married to that person. You get hurt. Like, what?
I think I said something about how you handle that crush, and having accountable people helps. Because you can like someone, because a crush means I like someone. And you like them and they may not like you back.
That's a hard
And,
truth to swallow.
and it's a hard truth that we must all know. You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, unfortunately. And that is why it is important to have other people who you are accountable to and say, listen, I think I like that guy. And yes, we're going to have Tinagema ladies on the side. We're going to pray with you. But in our praying, we are saying, let the will of the Lord. I remember I once did the same prayer myself. I said, because I had liked this guy, who's now my husband, and I had seen signs that he potentially loved me. But I was not going to act it out in front of him that I saw it, because, like I say, I come from a school where he has to kuluma. Guys, he has to say something. So in that, I mean, how you handle the crush. Then you speak to your people and then they say we pray. And then, guys, we must understand some prayers are not now. It's not for you to know, and he's not your person. Even if you've had visions and dreams about him standing on the altar or descending, it may just have been influenced by your thinking of him, because some of our dreams are coming from what we put in our minds. So when you are with mature people, they can say, okay, we have prayed, and Umto now married someone else. That means that Umto was not your ideal person. And we need to stress this, that it's not always going to go your way. And that skill, you need it whether you are a student, you need it in a relationship, you need it at work. I think it was Noel Jones who said that our women are not taught to hear no. And we've raised a generation of women who are not taught to hear no, and men who are not taught to say no.
Yo.
And because of that, we've got issues in our society. And it's, as women, Shem, we are not hearing no. It's not something that we are trained to hear, because even with our fathers, when the daughter goes, how the father normally says, okay, mtanam, it's fine. So it's okay if the guy doesn't love you and marries someone else. You're going to be hurt. Then deal with the hurt and say, but he had not said anything to me. But it's a different story if there was a vibing between the two of you and both of you were together in this. Then both of you need to say, we've hurt each other, or I've hurt the other part whom I didn't marry.
Yo.
And I always say that it's important before you say you are marrying someone to create boundaries with the other people that you were vibing, so that it's clear and they're not.
Yes, but I feel like it's a very sensitive issue, one, but it's also a very complicated one, because you might find Duguti as a guy, you are just being you. And then the other one is thinking that you are, sort of showing signs that you like them, you're sort of testing the waters, but they have made that up in their minds. Or it could also just be that you as a guy, you are also just playing those games. I think it's a very complicated thing that really needs to be managed in the church.
Yes, and I think it's important not to, Gatin man, to check that guy in different context. Because if it is his character, I remember having the same thing where I was like, is he nice because he's just nice? Or is he nice now because he loves me? And I needed to observe him in different contexts. And my answer was that he's nice because he's just nice.
Yo.
Even when he
And
did love me.
how did that change what you were feeling about him?
It didn't change that I still loved him. It didn't change, but I had to say, Zama, he hasn't said anything to you. What kept me going and like being like, you cannot put yourself there where you are building bridges and building, thinking of you and him as a couple because he has not said anything. And I think I was privileged that I had spoken with like different guys who have said, if I had not said anything to you, don't think because we could be nice because we are nice. And I'd read books. So I was like, okay, you like him, but till he says something, my baby. Till he says something,
Just continue moving forward.
Just continue.
And
I think it goes back to what you were saying, some of the disciplines that need to happen. We quote scriptures like, those, the when we are dealing with the youth, to say, like in Komo, that, Isingisi is gone. Lezo inkomo, where your nature wants to go back as a nursing cow, but you still continue. There's that scripture, guys. The ones,
Shemesh.
yes, the Shemesh
scripture.
one. We quote that scripture when we're talking about just sexual control, but also even how we control our emotions. We need to learn to say, even if I'm burning, I can't be burning in front of you and being consumed here.
Burn in secret.
Yes, burn in secret, because
Uthola abantu abazocima umlilo.
yes, and give you water.
Yes.
It's important because that is not going to stop once you've had your boyfriend. You're going to burn for other people. And you need that muscle to have
That
been
self-control,
practiced.
yeah.
Yes. Because, guys, that's what is breaking our marriages. That idea that, okay, now I'm married to Nzuzo, but oh my goodness, there's someone I'm burning for. If I have not practiced the self-control, I'm going to burn again.
And you also, I'm thinking about what you were saying earlier about some of the things that move you as a lady when somebody buys you flowers or something like that. And you would work in a workspace where people would do nice things that would move you in that way. And you'd still have to apply that element of self-control in there.
Yes. And also there's like men, work courtesy. If it's, some people are going to say it's your birthday, let's buy flowers. You need to be able to interpret.
As
It's
just
a gesture.
a birthday.
Yes, it's a birthday, it's a gesture, or it's your 1 year anniversary here with us. There's flowers. But you may get some who are just going to give you coffee, buy you coffee every morning, and then it's up to you to now put a boundary and say, listen, my brother, don't do this because you know how we build bridges. If you allow it, it might end up.
I remember a series that we watched. It's called Ted Lasso. And this guy was so nice. He would bring a box of cakes for the boss every morning without fail. In the beginning of the series, we thought, this one is going to move on this one. But the series ended and he was just like consistent like that. Was a nice guy. So I really like what you're saying, Guti. Learn to interpret things for what they are until somebody says otherwise, so that you don't put yourself in this situation where you are wondering, what are we? And you don't know what's happening, and you're busy burning and being consumed in front of this person. And then
learn yourself. Learn yourself.
Yeah.
No things that make you burn And then some of them, kiyabalekwa.
Yeah,
Some
Balega
of them,
Joseph.
you run, guys. You go like, I know I like flowers, or I know I like people who drive beautiful cars or whatever. If I see, aibo, nangumuntu baleka, because it's gonna build.
There's also this thing, Yoguti. Those we want.
Don't want us.
They don't want us. And those we don't want, they want us. How do we deal with, because I think as a guy, like one of the things that are like the biggest turn-offs, I will speak for myself, but I know this is also something that's common amongst guys. If the person is burning and is getting consumed and is just like, take me now, that's like one of the biggest turn-offs. How do I handle that? Like, what's the most diplomatic way to say, but
I'm not penning the same.
yeah, no, I'm not penning the same. Because I think like that's where also sometimes people get hurt.
Yes.
In how those kinds of situations are handled.
It depends on how, do you have a relationship, a working friendship with that person? Because if you do, then we can be honest and frank and say, I see signs, I see, framing it. I see signs that are showing me that you may be interested. Not I see that you're interested.
Yeah.
Because it may be you interpreting it in one way and and then be like, I'm not looking for a relationship at this point, or
What if I am looking, but I'm just not looking for someone like you?
It's okay to say you are not the type, like the type, because at the end of the day,
that's harsh.
no. Okay, maybe we can find diplomatic words to say it, but you still need to be clear, because the other thing is, because people have felt like it's harsh. Those type of conversations remain unsaid, and then people are like, okay, so if I do it, maybe it's going to, every relationship starts, every relationship starts with a friendship. Maybe it will result in something. And that's what I also say to Daughters of Zion, that it is okay to tell a guy that I'm not interested in a relationship right now, or I don't see you as, and people do get hurt, but you'd rather be hurt by someone telling you that I see you as my brother than someone stringing you alone,
I
and
like
you will
what
heal.
Fundisi, Pastor Martin says. No, you will heal.
You will heal.
You will heal.
Jay, like at least you know where you stand. Then people get hurt also because they felt like we're being string along. Like we just letting time go by. You saw the signs, but you never addressed them. And now it's been 2 years. And me and you have been friends. And I've been thinking it's going to go somewhere. Because we know those people who have been besties. And one bestie thinks it's going to lead somewhere. And the other bestie is clear.
It's like proper friend, this one.
Proper friend, this one. So I think then as friends, we can sit down and have. And when we speak about friendship, it means that it's someone you can tell anything to.
You have made the space safe
Yes.
enough to have those kinds of conversation. There is a song by Afro Traction that I like, which says,
Come on, Afro.
it starts with,
One day, please talk about Afro Traction and your relationship.
it says wonke ama-relationships aqala ngokushela.
Yeah.
So if ungakashelwa, then you are not in a relationship.
Awukho mntama, you are in a friendship.
You're in a friendship, you are in talking stages, if you're talking but you are not in a relationship.
Yeah, but hey, some people have started by kissing and then shellaed later.
Yup. So what makes for a good relationship? Let's say that somebody useshelile ke waqonywa, but what makes for a good relationship?
Two people who love each other and want it to work.
But I've heard that love is not enough.
That is why I said want to make it work. Love is a
Let's,
feeling.
let's expand on that. Like the wanting and the working and the making it.
The wanting it to work is, okay, I'm going to date Unzuzo now, and I want it to work with Unzuzo. How does it play? I need to learn what it's about. I need to support him. I remember in the first stages, at one point he was presenting, And I was loving the guy, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna come to his presentation. I came bearing food and bearing whatnot so that he feels what? Supported, that, you know what, there's someone. It's me wanting to work. Normally it's the other way around. Girls, we want them to bring food. I'm doing something, I'm doing an assignment if we are dating at school, varsity or whatever. It's him coming, how can I help you? You helping me with my literature review because you want also
Hey!
une
Whoa!
PhD, Mthobisi.
Hey, people must do their work.
And if you want this relationship to work, then you're
Yeah.
like, okay, if we study together, then we can have more time as a couple to enjoy. So this is me putting in the work. I am late as an individual, but my husband wants someone who's early. This is me trying to wake up Elianyana.
Lupin, please just double click on that one.
It's me trying, even if it's just I'm 30 minutes earlier than the last time I was late by 2 hours. Today I'm late by 1 hour 30 minutes, but I'm wanting it to work. So I want this to work. So it's filling his cup. How does he see? How does he want to be loved? Funny enough, we are turning 6 years of marriage this year.
Yay.
And we sat with each other and we're like, how does love look to you? What is one thing that we can sit and read through? And my husband said to me, you know what? You now come into the house and you don't kiss me, or you're not affectionate. So what love and wanting to work is me saying, okay, even if I'd forgotten that when I walk in the room, I must go kiss my husband, I'm going to try and go kiss him because I want our relationship to work. So it's two people who want it to work. And it's not mean we are forcing things, because I don't believe in relationship being forced. But there is a part where the butterflies are going to be gone. And what stays is both of you wanting it to work.
And just the decision to love the other person.
Yes, love is a decision and it's an action. Even when, we're going to fight. And in the fighting, I think in the earlier stages, my husband used to say, I understand you're upset with me, but don't shut the door at me. Because that says, so even when I'm upset, I can't shut a door at him because I'm choosing to still love him even when I'm upset with him. And I would be like, I understand you're upset, but you can't drive off.
Yo.
And then he may be upset, but he will still not drive off because it's both people wanting it to work. And then there will be times when it won't work. And then you say, I think it's not working. Let's seek counsel. It's still us wanting it to work. So, yeah.
Powerful, mandlaful. And you are saying sometimes it doesn't work.
Yes.
Even after you have sought counsel at the relationship stage.
Yes.
Of course. And even at marriage level.
Yes.
For certain people, it doesn't work. But let's talk about the relationship dating stage. It doesn't work. And it comes to breaking up. What are some of the things that you think are the mistakes that people make that leads to breakup that could have been avoided?
Emotional intelligence is one of them. Not communicating and not... People are scared of confronting the matter. They will ghost you. And then hopefully you will see that the relationship is over. Rather than saying, let's sit down, and also not respecting each other and not listening. Because at the end of the day, if we are starting a relationship, what we are saying is we are coming to learn about each other. And the outcome may be good, and sometimes the outcome may be bad. As in, I've gone on dates with you, and I realize you are not the person that I want. Maybe we've spoken about issues and you are not listening, or maybe for females, most of the time it's how the person, even when they're talking to you, how are they making you feel? I'm talking to this person, he makes me feel belittled. Or I'm talking to that person and they are not listening to me. They feel like their voice only matters. It's only about them. And then I've voiced it out, but there was no change.
I see. Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. What are some of the like maybe 3 key lessons that you have learned in your throughout your dating time and in your 6 years of marriage that you have learned about relationships that makes relationships work? Let's wrap it up there. 6. Well, not 6. 3 key lessons that you have learned about relationships.
You need to be teachable in a relationship. You need to forgive each other. And then you must always have counsel. That's what makes, I feel, relationships to work. Because, okay, I can also go on and on about what I think is forgivable and what is not. In a relationship phase, okay, other people can forgive cheating and whatnot, but I look at it as not respecting the relationship. So the past relationship where I've been cheated on have not survived. But men, in a relationship, you have to forgive each other and give each other grace. And in that, you learn to see, which leads to being teachable, you learn to see things in the other person's shoes. And if you can put yourself there, there are other things that you'll forgive easier if you put yourself in that person's shoes. And it is very much important to have counsel, because there will be times where, whether it's in a relationship or marriage, the issues that you have, both of you, the skills that you have, every book you have read is not going to be sufficient for you guys to solve a matter. And in that situation, you need someone, whether someone who's been married for longer, someone who's been in a relationship for longer, who can sit you guys down and say, this is how you resolve this. This is how you do this. So those are the 3 things, I think, for me. Be teachable, forgive each other, and always have someone who can counsel you.
Thank you so much for joining me. This was quite a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed, thoroughly enjoyed every bit of it. How do people follow you? How do people get your, to your YouTube channel? I know you're putting some new stuff in there.
Yes, we are trying to be consistent in YouTube. I'm Zama Nene Sikhakhane on YouTube. I'm Zama Nene Sikhakhane. In fact, in everywhere. I'm even on TikTok.
Oh wow!
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
I haven't learned to dance, but we are visible on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. That's where you'd find me. I'm a disability advocate. I'm a speech therapist and a consultant nowadays. So
Nice.
that's where we are going, and that's where we lead a church. Community Worship Center. We've got a group, Facebook page for now. It's called Sikhakhane, CWC Sikhakhane. That's where you can find me almost every Sunday preaching the gospel.
Amen. And amen.
And that's where you can find me, and being Nom's mom.
Thank you so much, Inspi family, for joining us on this episode of the Inspiwords podcast. I hope you actually enjoyed this conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Please leave some comments below and let us know what your thoughts are about some of the questions that we've asked and some of the ideas that were shared there. You might have different views on this, so I'd really appreciate to hear from you. Please continue to subscribe, follow us, share, leave a comment. We really appreciate it. Until next time, give your dreams a chance.
Yeah.